request of the chairman. And at the request of the chairman, both the commission and Rice Council will be asked to update their post-hearing brief with respect to penalty recommendation. The matter should be set for consideration at the commission's September meeting. Secondly, as I mentioned at the last meeting, the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Authority announced members of an advisory committee to oversee the process of issuing a request for proposal to conduct a 3-year research study on the use of furosemide on horses during the 48-hour period before the start of a covered horse race, including assessing the effect on equine health and the integrity of competition. The independent scientific research will be presented to the advisory committee, who will then relay the findings and recommendations to the HISA board of directors. I had advised that among the 11 members appointed was our own equine medical director, Scott Palmer, and I am pleased to provide the update that Dr. Palmer has been selected as the chair of the advisory committee. Thank you, Scott, for your service in that regard. As most are aware, tomorrow night's Mega Millions drawing is for $1.25 billion. This provides an opportunity to reinforce the impact of these high prize roll-ups. During the end of July, a $1.08 billion Powerball jackpot ticket was sold in California. During the 3-month 39-draw run-up to that jackpot, more than $54.9 million combined was generated for New York public schools and lottery retailers, with $46.9 million going to education and the balance to retailer commissions. During the 31-draw run-up since Mega Millions was last won, more than $54.9 million combined has been generated for New York public schools and lottery retailers, with $48 million going to education. Powerball and Mega Millions sales are dependent upon jackpot size, but you can get a sense of the large jackpot effect by looking at sales. In the week before the Powerball jackpot was hit, and during this past week with Mega Millions, sales have averaged more than $24 million per week. By comparison, when Powerball and Mega Millions were at their starting jackpot, sales were averaging $4 million per week. Finally, for those of you with endurance, there is a franchise oversight board meeting scheduled for 7 p.m. today at the Saratoga Racecourse. The agenda includes customary financial and capital expenditure reviews and a consideration of a new totalizator company. I assume that there will also be some overview of the Belmont renovation project. For those of you who don't have the endurance to make the meeting in person, it will also be webcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Williams. We now get to rulemaking. New York State Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law 104.19 authorizes the Commission to promulgate rules and regulations that it deems necessary to carry out its responsibilities. To that regard, the Commission will, from time to time, promulgate rules and regulations amendments pursuant to the State Administrative Procedures Act. Today, we have 3 rules for proposed consideration. The first one is on the purchase location requirements for lottery courier service. Mr. Williams.
In October 2022, the Commission considered an amendment to regulations governing the purchase of lottery courier services that was intended to clarify the requirements for customer presence in New York State. Recall, a licensed lottery courier service is permitted to accept orders to purchase New York lottery tickets on behalf of the courier customer. The courier service then fulfills a request by purchasing the ticket at a licensed lottery sales agent retail location on behalf of the courier customer. The then proposed amendment was intended to clarify that the courier service purchase location requirement by providing that the purchase of courier service occurs when the customer requests delivery of the ticket or tickets, and when the customer initiates the transfer of funds to the courier service in connection with the purchase. Thus, a customer would not be permitted to place an order for multiple tickets while in the state without funding the purchase, then fund all or a portion of the purchase remotely while out of the state. After review and consideration of concerns raised internally and externally, staff determined it appropriate to revise subdivision A of Rule 5014.7 to clarify the courier service purchase location requirement by providing that the purchase of courier services occurs when a customer requests the delivery of a ticket or tickets through the courier service network, and the customer initiates the transfer of funds to such courier service in connection with such to cover the cost of in full of the lottery ticket or tickets requested to be purchased. Thus, if the revised rule were proposed and adopted, a customer would not be permitted to place an order for multiple tickets while in the state without funding the purchase, then leave the state, and then fund all or a portion of the purchase remotely. As mentioned, the notice of proposed rulemaking was published in the December 14th, 2022 State Register, meaning the public comment period expired on February 13th, 2023. 4 comments were received. 3 lottery courier service licensees, Jackpocket, Lotto.com, and Jackpocket.com, commented, and we received 1 comment from Brianna Dura, an interested party. Jackpocket noted that their operational model requires customers to fund a digital wallet maintained by Jackpocket, and that the funding of the wallet is not an act of purchasing a lottery ticket, but a completely separate transaction akin to taking cash out from an ATM machine to purchase a ticket. They wrote that a patron could deposit money into their wallet while in New Jersey, travel to New York State, and use the funds deposited in New Jersey to purchase a New York lottery ticket or game while physically present in New York. Jackpocket geolocates the customer in New York at the time the customer makes the request for courier services. Jackpocket raised concern that the proposed rule would have the unintended consequence of prohibiting customers from funding their wallets outside New York State, which they indicate is permissible under federal law and existing regulations. Jackpocket also argues that lottery courier services should be treated like all other operators regulated by the Commission, such as online sports wagering operators, daily fantasy sports operators, and advanced deposit wagering systems, which Jackpocket believes are permitted to use funds in a digital wallet that were deposited outside the state of New York. Finally, Jackpocket indicated a concern that the results of the proposed rule would be that lottery courier services must require a separate digital wallet for New York State, which they assert would be inconvenient for lottery players and would result in a material loss of revenue. Staff agrees that a lottery courier customer must be located in New York State to be compliant with federal law prohibitions on interstate lottery activity. Staff also believes interstate lottery activity prohibitions are also implicated if a lottery courier service customer directs the funds to be removed from the customer's digital wallet for a designated lottery ticket purchase while the customer is in a different state than the one in which the lottery ticket purchase is effective. Staff interprets the proposed regulation to require the customer's presence in New York, both at the time the customer requests delivery of a New York lottery ticket through the courier service network, and at the time the customer directs the courier to apply existing customer funds to such New York ticket order delivery. To use Jackpocket's example, staff agrees that a customer may fund a Jackpocket digital wallet in New Jersey, travel to New York, and while in New York, direct the courier service to remove funds from the digital wallet to purchase a New York lottery ticket on the customer's behalf. Such a transaction would satisfy our concerns. However, to ensure compliance with the federal interstate lottery activity prohibitions, the proposed regulation would prevent a lottery courier service from allowing a customer to order the lottery ticket in New York without having funded it, leave the state, and then while elsewhere, fund the New York lottery ticket purchase. Conversations with Jackpocket and the representatives find their organic concern related to their autoplay and autofund features. Jackpocket desires to allow a customer while in New York to select those features after linking a customer's Jackpocket digital wallet to a bank account or a credit card or debit card, allowing a customer to order, while in New York, the delivery of a ticket for an unlimited number of lottery draws, even if the customer lacks current funds in the customer's digital wallet to fund such purchases. Then, once the customer's digital wallet is depleted, the customer would be allowed to fund such purchases at a future date at time which the customer may be located outside the state of New York. Staff believes allowing such automatic replenishment of funds to purchase lottery tickets when requesting delivery unduly risks violating federal prohibitions on interstate lottery activity. Staff interprets the proposed regulation to require the customer to be in New York State at the time the ticket delivery request is made and be in New York at the time the customer funds the ticket delivery request by directing the lottery courier service to segregate existing monies from the lottery's or the customer's digital wallet towards such ticket delivery request. In this manner, the Commission can be assured that the entire lottery-related transaction occurs only within New York, as federal law requires. In the Commission's lottery subscription program, by contrast, a player must fully fund the series of future ticket purchases at the time of the purchase request and be in New York State at the time of such funding. Staff also notes that Jackpocket is misplaced in comparing its activity with mobile sports wagering and horse wagering, advanced deposit wagering. First, federal law explicitly carves out sports wagering, including horse racing, from its generally broad prohibition on interstate wagering activity. Similarly, the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act of 2006 also explicitly carves out horse racing wagering from its prohibitions. Staff disagrees that the proposed rule would require a lottery courier service to establish a separate New York digital wallet. The proposed rule would instead require the customer's presence in New York at the time existing money is dedicated from the customer's digital wallet towards a New York purchase. Lotto.com urged the Commission not to adopt the proposed rule, arguing that the proposed rulemaking failed to recognize that the actual courier transaction and funding for that transaction always occurs in New York, creating inconsistencies with the lottery's own administrative rules and prior practice, as well as those addressing the funding of plays for other authorized gaming in New York, did not reflect industry practice within the lottery industry, and would convert New York to a cash-only lottery state. Lottery.com also stated that lottery couriers do not sell lottery tickets, and thus federal law concerns cited as justification for the rule do not apply. Regardless, Lotto.com asserted that there was no federal law requiring that the transfer of funds used in a lottery ticket purchase or for a lottery courier services transaction to occur within the confines of the state. Lotto.com also alleged inconsistent treatment, asserting that Jackpocket was permitted to offer an autoplay and auto fund function without requiring geolocation, while Lotto.com were denied the ability to perform similar actions within the state. Like Jackpocket, Lotto.com asserted that the lottery subscription program allowed customers to fund subscriptions without having to be physically present in the state, and noted that horse racing and mobile sports wagering customers fund wagers without ensuring that they are within the state when the gaming orders are funded. They also asserted several other lottery jurisdictions operate without geolocation requirements or allow funding via mail. Finally, Lotto.com argued that the proposed rule was unworkable and would create widespread unintended consequences on traditional lottery practices, arguing that the purchaser's physical presence in New York could only be definitively established with an all-cash transaction. They also noted that funding for electronic transactions always trailed the actual purchase, with the settlement occurring between 1 and 3 days after the actual card swipe. They also argue that the actual transfer of funds for a lottery transaction occurs at a time when the customer could be anywhere, and concluded not observing a check used for funding might not clear until a time well beyond when the writer might have left the state. While staff agrees that the lottery couriers do not sell lottery tickets and the purchase of the actual lottery ticket always occurs within the state, we disagree that the lottery transaction function does not implicate federal interstate lottery activity prohibitions. Lotto.com is mistaken that New York permitted Jackpocket to offer its autoplay and auto fund functionality without requiring geolocation. To the contrary, it is the interplay of such functionality that raised federal law concerns that led to the proposed rulemaking. Through the adoption of this reproposed rulemaking, Jackpocket will be clearly prohibited from allowing the funding of lottery ticket purchase related services when their customer is located outside New York's borders. Lotto.com is similarly mistaken with their belief that the Commission denied Lotto.com the ability to perform similar actions within the state. To the contrary, our staff has informed Lotto.com that pending the adoption of this rulemaking, it too may utilize the same digital wallet model that Jackpocket employs. However, Lotto.com had declined to do so. Rather, Lotto.com sought permission to allow its customers to purchase a subscription for lottery courier services through a payment method that might be charged while the customer is outside New York. Such a proposal is dissimilar to the digital wallet model, and staff believes is impermissible under federal law. In response to other statements, staff confirms that the New York Lottery does not allow customers in its subscription program to fund purchases while outside New York, and confirmed with several other jurisdictions that geolocation functionality is used in connection with their lotteries, contrary to assertions. Also, discussed in the context of Jackpot comments, the comparison with treatment of other forms of wagering activity is misplaced. Finally, staff agrees that the reproposed rule would allow all cash lottery transactions as the location requirement applies when a customer initiates the transfer of funds to a courier service in connection with a delivery request, and not when transfer of funds ultimately settles. In its comment, Jackpot.com proposed that a customer physically located in New York should be able to, through Jackpot.com's platform, purchase a subscription for a series of courier service deliveries, to have a customer's location verified, opt to renew, and have the customer's location verified at the time of renewal, and have the renewal canceled if the customer is not in New York at the time of renewal. Staff believes that the process Jackpot.com outlined would comply with the reproposed rule if adopted. Brianna Dura commended the commission for having done a tremendous job in the accounting for and incorporating advances in technology to better protect customers via items such as self-exclusion, relevant and modern advertising guidelines, comprehensive know your customer and geolocation requirements. Ms. Dura advised that a traveling universal wallet would allow couriers to better monitor, flag, or even intervene any problematic play of users, and would allow for a holistic limit threshold to be set and enforced. She also observed that it's far more difficult for vendors and problem gambling experts to monitor problematic play when a customer funds are being distributed across multiple accounts. Staff believes Ms. Dura misunderstands the implication of the proposed rule to the customer wallet model. As discussed in response to Jackpot's comments, the proposed rule would not eliminate the possibility for a courier service to employ a customer wallet model that a customer could use when traveling from state to state in order to deliver lottery tickets within the state in which the customer is located. Rather, the proposed rule would prevent the customer from funding the purchase in one state while the customer is in another state. Staff recommends that the commission authorize the reproposal of this rulemaking. The practical effect of a rule reproposal is that the agency must submit a notice of revised rulemaking and accept public comment for at least another 45 days after notice publication.
Commissioners, any questions on the reproposal of a rule regarding purchase location requirements for lottery courier services? They have a motion to propose reproposed rule.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Or nay, whatever. I'm against it.
Okay. Commissioner Crotty in the negative. Anybody else?
He said, anyone against? I said, yes.
Motion carries with Commissioner Crotty in the negative. Okay, the Thoroughbred claim rule.
For commission consideration is a proposed rule to amend Thoroughbred claiming regulations. The claiming race is a race in which the entrants are available to be purchased by certain licensed owners for a predetermined amount. Interested buyers place a claim prior to the race. If only one qualified person submits a claim for a particular horse, ownership of that horse is transferred following the race. If multiple qualified people submit claims for one horse, a random drawing determines which person receives ownership. The existing commission rule has been criticized by several horse owners and their representatives and racetrack operators as being uncompetitive and in need of revision. Accordingly, commission staff met with personnel of the New York Racing Association, Finger Lakes Racing Association, the New York Thoroughbred Breeders, the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association, and the Finger Lakes Horsemen's Benevolent and Protective Association to advance changes that would retain the integrity of the claiming process while recognizing their issues. NYRA conducts 7 distinct race meetings of varying length and with varying horse populations. The current rule requires an owner making a claim to have entered a starter in the immediately preceding race meeting. This precludes some otherwise active owners from claiming a horse, as an owner may not have participated in the previous meeting due to its short duration or because racing opportunities may have been incompatible with the owner's stable of horses. The proposed rule would address these concerns by allowing claimants who have raced a horse on a circuit within 120 days. An additional obstacle is the competitive nature of the claiming market, with an ever-increasing frequency of multiple claims on a single horse. This reality limits a potential claimant from succeeding in acquiring a horse within 30 days, as the current rule requires. Increasing this time limitation to 60 days will allow otherwise qualified owners additional opportunity to make a claim. Another articulated concern was the value class restriction limitation. Present commission regulations provide that when a horse is claimed from a particular value class, the horse is ineligible to start in the same value class for 30 days. Staff review of recent data, however, indicates that horses generally run on a 28-day schedule and condition books generally value class every 28 days. Under current regulations, a claimant who wants to start a horse again in the same class may be effectively forced to wait 56 days from the date of their claim. An availing position has been advanced that such time limitation is unnecessarily long and causes issues for owners, trainers, and the racetrack, which seeks to fill competitive races. They argue that by reducing the requisite waiting period, owners will have a greater opportunity to start their horses for the price at which the horse had been recently claimed. Finally, current rules prohibit a claimed horse from running outside New York for a period of 30 days. The general prohibition here would be extended to 60 days, which would mitigate entry shortages that had been experienced at New York tracks. An exception for the proposed horses claimed at Finger Lakes towards the end of their racing season, in which the prohibition would be limited to 30 days from the end of the Finger Lakes racing season. Staff recommends that the commission authorize the proposal of this rulemaking.
Commissioners, any questions or discussions on the proposed amendments to the Thoroughbred claiming rule? Hearing none, may I have a motion to propose this rule?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously.
For commission consideration is a regulation proposal to set forth a processing fee authorized by New York tax law, section 1613D, which sets forth detailed procedures by which a lottery prize winner may obtain court authorization to assign voluntarily all or part of future prize payment installments. Commission staff, by statute, assists the court in implementing the law by reviewing documentation relating to the proposed assignment, confirming that there are no other assignments or other claims to the funds that might impede the proposed assignment, and implementing an approved assignment. Paragraph 7 of 1613D authorizes the commission to establish a reasonable fee to defray any administrative expense associated with a prize winner's assignment. Subdivision C of the proposed rule would set a $435 fee to offset the administrative cost of processing the assignment of a lottery prize. This fee amount was determined through estimating the resources expended handling a typical lottery prize payment assignment, considering commission staff salaries and time spent per assignment. The rule would also establish the ability for the commission to assess actual costs at $86.50 per hour in the case that might involve costs exceeding the standard fee. The proposed amendments also rephrase the existing rule for clarity and acknowledge each of the existing offset statutes. Staff recommends that the commission propose this rule.
Commissioners, any questions or comments on the proposal of the lottery prize assignment processing fee rule? Hearing none, may I have a motion to propose this rule?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next, the next item of business regards the adjudication.
This is in the matter of Abdul R. Tillman. On December 6, 2022, Commission Executive Director Robert Williams revoked the gaming employee registration of Abdul R. Tillman. Mr. Tillman held a gaming employee registration to work at Rivers Casino and Resort in Schenectady. The notice informed Mr. Tillman that the revocation was for acts by a registrant that involved public integrity, embezzlement, or theft, citing racing, parimutuel wagering, and breeding law sections 1318-1J, 1324-2, and New York Code of Rules and Regulations, section 5305.2C, which authorizes the executive director to revoke a registration upon a finding that a registrant is disqualified on the basis of the criteria set forth in section 1318. Mr. Tillman had been working on November 9th, 2022 as a table games supervisor and box person, responsible for directly participating in and supervising the operation and conduct of the game of craps. Mr. Tillman was determined to have improperly authorized more than $6,000 in payments to casino patrons for losing wagers. Mr. Tillman requested a hearing, which was conducted on May 15th, and May 22nd, 2023. The hearing officer submitted a report to the commission secretary dated July 25th, 2023, recommending that Mr. Tillman's registration be revoked. The commission considered this matter at a meeting conducted pursuant to the judicial or quasi-judicial proceedings exemption of New York Public Officers Law, section 108.1.
The commission duly deliberated and considered this matter and determined upon unanimous vote to sustain the hearing officer's report and recommendations. The next item on the agenda regards discussion of Fanatics ownership and acquisition for PointsBet. I asked Mr. Williams to provide historical context regarding the PointsBet consideration and approval proposed transaction and the process of consideration of the transaction. It is my understanding that the license will remain with the same that is currently holding, and that Fanatics is seeking approval as the new owner of the license holding entity.
Chapter 59 of the laws of 2021 amended New York Racing, Parimutuel Wagering, and Breeding Law, section 1367, and added section 1367A to authorize mobile sports wagering when the sports wager is made through virtual or electronic means from a location within New York and is transmitted to and accepted by electronic equipment located at a licensed gaming facility. The statute directed the commission to conduct a competitive bidding process to award licenses to mobile sports wagering platform providers. Pursuant to that authority, on July 9th, 2021, commission staff issued a request for application, or RFA, to award a license to at least 2 mobile sports wagering platform providers, such that the result would be the hosting of no less than 4 mobile sports wagering operators, as the law required. In response to the bids received, an evaluation committee advanced for licensing as platform provider Sports Information Services Limited, doing business as Canby, with American Wagering, doing business as Caesars Sportsbook, Empire Resorts, doing business as Resorts World Bet, PointsBet New York, doing business as PointsBet, Rush Street Interactive New York, doing business as Rush Street Interactive, and WSI US, doing business as WinBet, as platform providers and operators, and Betfair Interactive US, doing business as FanDuel Sportsbook, as an additional platform provider, an operator with Bally's Interactive, doing business as Bally's Bet, BetMGM, and DraftKings as platform providers and operators. Chapter 59 of the laws of 2021 did not create a new licensing scheme for mobile sports wagering. Rather, the RFA and the proposed rules, the commission identified platform providers and operators to be licensed equivalent to casino vendor enterprises. On November 2nd, 2021, the commission met and accepted licensure recommendations of the evaluation committee. Later that same meeting, the commission adopted rules governing, among other things, various licensing requirements. Staff was left consistent with practice in evaluating and determining whether and when each platform provider and their operator were qualified for appropriate license. A subsequent evaluation found all providers and their operators suitable for conditional licensing, and they were accordingly licensed. As has been widely reported, Fanatics has agreed to acquire PointsBet US assets. When this pending transaction was previously discussed, the commission requested staff bring forward information when right. As all materials have been submitted and jurisdictions have commenced consideration of the ownership change, now's the time for us to at least commence that conversation. As a background, FBG Enterprises OpCo LLC, doing business as Fanatics Betting and Gaming, a subsidiary of Fanatics Holdings, Inc., entered into an agreement to purchase PointsBet USA's subsidiary PointsBet New York LLC, a platform provider and operator licensed in New York since January 24th, 2022. The purchase agreement was signed on May 14th, 2023, approved by the PointsBet Board of Directors on June 26, 2023, and finalized by the shareholders on June 29th, 2023. PointsBet Holdings Limited is an Australian-based iGaming and sports wagering company founded in 2015, with operations in Australia, the United States, Canada, and Ireland. This transaction only involves the U.S. subsidiary, which launched in January 2019 and has grown to operations in 14 states, including New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. PointsBet New York commenced wagering activity on January 24th, 2022. Since then, they've experienced a $607 million handle and gross gaming revenues of $36.5 million, meaning they have provided the state tax revenue of $18.6 million since opening. That revenue places them sixth of the 9 licensees. Fanatics Holdings Incorporated operates as a holding company. Through subsidiaries, Fanatics Holding operates as a manufacturer and online retailer of licensed sportswear, sports collectibles, trading cards, and sports merchandise, as well as sports betting and iGaming. At present, Fanatics or its subsidiaries have been licensed to conduct sports wagering in 4 U.S. jurisdictions. Fanatics received a mobile sports wagering license from the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Control Commission in June 2022 and an online wagering license in October of 2022. Our contact with Maryland regulators have reported no derogatory information. In December 2022, Fanatics was licensed by the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, receiving their operations certificate in May 2023. Massachusetts regulators have reported no derogatory information as well. On March 1st of 2023, the Tennessee Sports Wagering Advisory Council approved Fanatics for an operator's license, and the Tennessee regulators report no derogatory information. Finally, the Ohio Casino Control Commission issued Fanatics a sports gaming services provider license on November 16th of 2022. The Ohio Commission has raised concern that a Fanatics promotion offering to match a $29.99 purchase of the baseball hat with a $29.99 bonus bet for use on the Fanatics Sportsbook app was inappropriate, as it failed to prominently display responsible gaming messaging and did not include certain language that's required regarding promotional events. No fine was associated with that event, though. Practically, Fanatics has advised that they will continue to use PointsBet's existing technology stack that has been deployed in New York. At present, that structure consists of a firewall system that passes the wager to the server housed at the Resorts World Catskill facility. The server has redundant network infrastructure provided by 2 independent internet providers and is continually self-tested with system and organizational controls type 2 threat hunting and distributed denial of service attack detection. Fanatics, when approved, will continue to use advanced encryption standard 256 encryption for the communications to and from the server. Fanatics will also maintain the use of PointsBet's mobile application. Fanatics is also committed to continuation of the current PointsBet internal controls, house rules, back-end reporting tools, and commission access, responsible gaming plan, and the existing Know Your Customer vendors for customer confirmation. They will, however, utilize an outside entity to triage their customer service complaints, which is a different approach than was taken by PointsBet. Fanatics is advised that they plan to holistically evaluate the PointsBet operations and will seek incremental prospective changes as they determine prudent and appropriate. Division staff have briefed Fanatics representatives regarding the requirements of and approval processes found in Part 5330.8 regarding internal controls, 5330.10 regarding wagering platform requirements, 5330.12 house rules requirements, 5330.34's responsible gaming plan, Part 5330.37 regarding changes to players' accounts, and Part 5330.40 server requirements. Fanatics acknowledge that the commission regulations and the processes and understand that the commission's approval processes for these operations and functions. Fanatics believes that one of their competitive advantages is their utilization of their sports merchandise customer database, and that they can increase customer outreach to potential patrons through this use of other subsidiaries, which will be essential to their success. In that regard, they advise that they have scrubbed their databases of all customers who are under the age of 21 and have tested the combined Fanatics and PointsBet databases with the player account management. This test was authorized in the first 10 jurisdictions that had accepted licensing documentation from Fanatics Holding, and has been successful across all states. Further, as part of the sale agreement, Fanatics conducted third-party penetration tests in addition to the yearly requirement, this for greater security. This test, coupled with the retention of several key staff members from PointsBet operations, should ultimately ensure a seamless operational transition when the sale is consummated. From a licensing perspective, commission standards for licensing require that each mobile sports wagering platform provider and operator are licensed as casino vendor enterprises using standards found in New York Racing, Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 1326, and Commission Rules Part 5303 and Part 5307. Under these laws and regulations, mobile sports wagering platforms and operator principals and key employees possessing managerial or supervisory responsibilities to staff are required to file for employee licensure. Other employees who have duties related to operations but who are not captured by the employee licensure filing requirements must be identified quarterly to the commission to be evaluated. Commission staff was notified of the anticipated PointsBet sale in April of 2023. Shortly thereafter, Fanatics submitted documentation illustrating their ownership structure, organizational charts, and their self-identification of those requiring licensure. Commission staff had been reviewing the materials and subsequently identified subsidiaries and individuals that require casino vendor enterprise or key license applications to be submitted. In all, commissions have received required paperwork from Fanatics Holdings Incorporated and 7 subsidiaries. Additionally, 20 principals or key personnel license applications have also been filed. Corporate and individual application materials have also been reviewed by the Licensing Bureau pursuant to the licensing criteria of the Racing Law, Section 1323(2)A and 1323(2)B for informational deficiencies, criminal history, financial stability, character, and fitness. Additionally, all PointsBet staff being retained have updated their paperwork as well. Commission Licensing Bureau staff have determined that the applications are full and complete, but have not yet completed their evaluation for temporary license suitability. As previously mentioned, Fanatics has been licensed to operate in Maryland, Massachusetts, Ohio, Tennessee, and West Virginia. They are also pending licensing in 12 other jurisdictions. Iowa and Colorado have advised that they're close to license consideration, while Virginia and Kansas are expected to consider the licensing by the end of August. New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement is also prepared to issue a transactional waiver when the transaction closes. Here today, we have the manager of licensing, Christy Phillips, and by telephone, Division of Gaming Director Tom Annapolis, and I believe Jim Gudas is on as well. He's Deputy Director of the Division of Gaming. I'm certain they're capable of responding to any questions if there are anything substantive that you would like to point in their direction.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. While the transaction, a corporate buyout does not require a transfer of licenses, the commissioners here today are convinced that since effective control of a license has transferred to a new entity, that increased scrutiny of this license holder transfer is necessary. To that end, the staff has and will require Fanatics to undergo a thorough examination of character and fitness to operate the license. When that is finished, the commission will consider the recommendations and of the staff and look at their report, and then raise and make a final determination at that point. I assume that will be done at our September meeting. Thank you, and thank you for your work and continued work on this matter. Is there any other business to go before the commission? Hearing none, I just have a few words for the commission as I normally do. In regards to the rules of gaming and the gaming advertising, we have been very much in the forefront of checking out and making sure that they comply with some reasonable regulations. I have asked the commissioner and the staff to overlook that and make sure on a continuing basis that since this is a relatively new operation, that we really reevaluate and continue to evaluate any of the advertising and mobile sports betting, and to assure that we do not have the type of problems that we've had in the past with it. And I think the commission will be looking at that very, very carefully. Also let you know that in the interim, since last meeting, the head of the director of the lottery and the executive director and I met with our advertising agency to go over the advertising for the lottery, again, with two real purposes. One is to assure that the expenditure that we as a commission make for advertising, which is in excess of $90 million a year, is done responsibly and effectively. We had a very good meeting with McCann and their staff. One of the things that I brought up and I think people should know about, and Mr. Williams alluded to that today, which is the people of New York are not really aware of how much good lottery does for education. Most people don't, and there have been times in the past when there has been a campaign where we were able to tell people that even when somebody loses a lottery bet, that the children of New York win. And I think we're going to be preparing in the future an advertising campaign to really refresh the recollection of New Yorkers on the importance of that. We're looking forward very much to advancing the whole new casino licensing program. I know that we're very much in the final stages and hope we will have certainly before our next meeting that the first stage of the response to the questions will be out. And I'm really confident that from our staff that will be done. In regards to Belmont, I know that we're all looking forward to the the advancement of 425 million. And particularly in regard to workers' housing. Ms. Williams has indicated to me today that the first part of workers' housing up here in Saratoga has commenced, will commence. And I want to compliment NYRA on their work. It's really something that's very, very important to me, and I think the members of the commission, that the workers, the backstretch workers, be housed decently, healthily, and safely. I urge the commissioners that obviously the rice matter is something that we need to look at. In particular, 3 of the commissioners are new to the matter, having been appointed after the penalty has been assessed. And it's time for, obviously, we're under court mandate to reassess that penalty, and I know that we'll all take that very seriously and with the review all the materials that are going to come about that. Finally, I join my fellow commissioners and Mr. Williams' staff in congratulating Dr. Palmer on the appointment. We're all very proud of you, Doctor, for the work that you've done. And obviously, the people of the United States have recognized your talents just as we have in New York. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm delighted to do this work. You will remember that the commission was very interested in this license research and hoping that the byproduct of this will not only help ICE, but also help the commission. Have some answers, good answers to questions that were challenging us earlier.
Thank you. And by the way, Mr. Williams, I understand we have some new employees in the commission, or new assignments in the commission.
Oh, we do. We have a couple of new individuals. Christy Phillips is our new director of licensing.
Really, you're very welcome.
She's been with the agency for some time, but she's moved into the position in licensing and is moving up in the licensing ranks as well.
Congratulations.
Also with us today is Richard Kaplan, who is the director of internal audit in the Bureau of Risk Management. The others I don't think we've publicly announced yet. So
Okay, so
keep that a little
So-
on that.
once again, I'm ahead of myself. Thank you. That's my report. Anything to come before the board commission? Hearing none, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
I think it did. Thank you.